You've probably noticed that throughout the filming I'm using an assortment of shooting boards and bench hooks. These are really useful and they're very easy to make. We'll start with the shooting boards. The two lengths that I recommend for guitar making for shooting boards are you need about 33 or 34 inches between the stop and the end of the board on the long one. On the short one you need about 21 inches from the inside of the stop to the end of the board. These are very easily made. I recommend you put a hardwood cleat on the bottom, and then that cleat can actually be screwed into your vise if you have one, or rammed up against the end of a table, and you can plane on this and it won't scoot around on you. So you just screw a cleat in the bottom of this side, and on the stop end, the stop needs to be fairly stout, and I recommend that you dado it into this piece and then screw it in through the bottom. It's only about 70 thousandths or so above the surface of this, but there's a considerable amount of wood inside the plywood here to give it some stability. The reason you want to screw this and not glue it is because these edges get chewed up over time and you want to replace this. You want to be able to replace it without having to build a new board. Now, the typical shooting board is more for edge grain work or more for squaring. It's usually used on smaller parts. But it just has a cleat on the bottom here and a cleat on the top, which is also perpendicular to this edge here. Now, there's a ramp. It's very simple to make one of these. The bottom piece, mine is covered with veneer, so it's a little fancier than it needs to be. But the bottom is just a piece of 3/4 inch ply or MDF or whatever. Another piece of 3/4 here with a little ramp for your plane. And the stock goes in up against this, and you plane along here. This section is about 8 inches wide, and it's about 14 inches this way. This is about 2 inches wide, and it's the length of the whole thing. This one is just an older one of these that I have laying around that I actually use to saw material. You can see the actual shoe is coming off of this ramp. That's why I don't plane on it anymore, but I do use it to saw things. So if you put a piece of wood in here, you have a nice guide for a straight cut. And then it's just a couple of plane strokes to get it clean. So these things are tremendously useful in your work, and I really recommend you build a couple of these.